Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. So I hope everyone's doing good. It is Monday morning at about 10:59. So I hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone had a pretty cool and festive weekend. We're getting closer and closer to being visited by the all-powerful Santa Claus. So yeah, it is Christmas season. I'm definitely gonna have some Christmas shows coming your way. I'm going to talk about some new Christmas movies. I recently watched a couple of old kind of Christmas classic films that I never actually saw, so I'm going to probably do a show on those. And yeah, always trying to bring some variety. The week of Christmas is usually for me. Christmas has more movies than probably. There's probably more Christmas based or Christmas oriented films than that are tied to the actual holiday more than probably any other uh, you know season than Halloween and then obviously Thanksgiving. There's so many Christmas movies that are just really awesome. I have a top list of movies that I always watch. One movie that I always watch every Christmas is Die Hard, the original one. That's a go-to movie of mine. I typically always watch that every Christmas. And then, there's a series of other films that are always classic. So I'll be talking about those movies. I'll probably do some reviews. I always do which I've done for ever since I was doing the live videos on Facebook, on Film Fanatic, my Facebook live videos. I, which has been a few years now, I typically always do like a Christmas special. So there will definitely be. I always do like a Halloween special. I always do a Thanksgiving special. I always do like a holiday themed show. So there'll definitely be a Christmas show coming up. And again, I try to mix it up a little bit. Try not to do the same movies every time, even though with Christmas there's definitely films that are very much a part of the movies that I always go back to or revisit. So stay tuned for that. They'll be coming up in a few weeks or so. And leading up until that point, there'll be more shows coming up. I've uploaded a bunch of videos, but I haven't set them all up fully yet, so they'll be coming your way soon. Today's show is on a specialty show. I like to always talk about music and things that are related to film. I look at film as being this really, general but a very broad art form. It like for me it means so many things. Not only is it a source of inspiration, a lot of fun. I love pure and I'm a big fan of pure healthy escapism. It's going to the theater to me is like the ultimate, especially if it's a really good movie. But I still have that experience even if the movie isn't so great. It's the experience itself that I love that usually overshadows that. Like for example, when I went to go see Alien Romulus this summer, I went with a buddy and we went to see it in IMAX. I was really really disappointed with that movie, and I've done a couple of shows on it, but the experience itself was still really great. The last movie I saw in the theater was Heretic with Hugh. Um, oh, jeez, I can't remember his name now. Hugh Grant. Pretty decent movie, pretty good. Better than Romulus in a lot of ways, but I was ultimately kind of let down by that film. But again, it was still that experience of going to the theater in a dark room and being immersed in being lost in this new world for 2 hours. So when it's something that's really good, it's incredible. But I love to try to bring new variety of videos that are tied to film, and of course, I always talk a lot about my band Quantum, where for me, film is the biggest kind of influence, plays the biggest, it's the key role for me as far as influences go, and the whole kind of backbone to its creation. The this weird thing that I've been doing for a long time, 10 years now, which is crazy. And we've gone through so many different changes as a band. I like to think that we've grown a lot over the years. We've gotten a lot of experience. I've been really proud of the albums that we've put out. And again, there's always a plethora of new material that I'm trying to get right, to cultivate. I've been writing new music the last few months, and I'm excited about what that might lead to. And again, the live setting, playing concerts or playing gigs with Quantum to me is the most fun, but it's also the most challenging. But to me, it's for material, it's the ultimate kind of testing ground. So I always can tell if something really has some weight to it or has some quality to it. And I always look at the live setting as being kind of the ultimate kind of testing ground, because it's really easy as a writer to, get in your own head and feel like when you're in your practice space, things are really gelling, or it's cooking pretty well. But it's not until you take it out of that space, because you can get lost in it, self-absorbed. But it's not until you take it out of that, put it in a different context, this being the live setting, to where I feel like you can really tell or feel or see if this is, if you're actually saying something. So I always look at the live performance, the live setting as that. And I have based on lots of those experiences is what I will do with the material. Some tunes I feel are, there's quite a few songs that we don't have recorded that I feel are good live, but I've just never really been able to get the proper take of that song for the studio. I love the studio equally. It again, it's kind of a variation of the same thing, but it's a permanent thing. It's gonna be, performances, live performances and gigs are fleeting, and so, but the recording of that material or albums act as a, that's something that's going to last and that you can revisit. So there's a lot of material that I haven't recorded with this band that I feel we just haven't really, captured the right vibe for the studio, in the studio format. And I feel like that's okay. Some songs lend itself to where they're probably just better live. So it's always that funny balance. And then on the other side of things too, there's also been a lot of material where I feel like, okay, it's not really connecting live. So a lot of times, there's been lots of examples where I will discard it and put it on the back burner, or just entirely dismantle it. And then vice versa, some songs will play live and I feel like, okay, this is connecting, and this has got an energy to it. So I'll really pursue those songs on my own to kind of cultivate them and develop them, and a lot of the times those songs will make it to tape. So we have today's show is on a few new quantum happenings, if you will, a few new shows and some new things, some updates. We A few weeks ago we had our release show at Hey Sailor, and it was great. It was super awesome. It was a lot of work putting together the show. I had some friends, my friend Ronnie and my friend Halsey, both incredibly talented musicians that I have been really fortunate to play with over the years. And in the last few years, they've also have these like solo project groups that are kind of similar to what we do with Quantum. And we've played a few shows together over the past couple of years, and it's been really just super fun. And so when we had our album release show in Dreams I Saw Chapter 2, it was our first, well, I think it was our second gig technically our second gig that we played together, where all of us were on board, and that was a real incredible experience and super fun, and it was just really great. It was really great, that everything kind of came together because it's a lot, it's a lot of work and figuring out from a concept or an idea that's maybe on paper to like making it a reality. So, and with that, we had a really great show with that, and so moving forward, winter time, it's very slow. We live in a very seasonal place here in Maine, so typically work and gigs and things like that are can go into a space of where, well, it's at a snail's pace. Things get very slow, and there's pockets. There's always things going on. There are gigs to be had, but compared to like summertime, it's even fall, it's considerably slower. So I've been trying to, and it's a little bit more challenging to get things going or rolling, as far as gigs go in the middle of winter or going into winter. But I really, wanted to try to, keep the band a little bit more active during the winter and try to, keep up, some of the momentum. I feel like we've been able to, fortunately, we've been able to achieve this year and going into 2025, and off the heels of just putting out a new album, and I have a lot of other material that I have that eventually will be recorded. So, and so we've put out a lot of music lately. 2 years ago we had the first chapter of In Dreams I Saw Chapter One that was put out 2 years ago, and then just a few weeks ago it was Chapter Two. So, we time can go on for a little while before we put out any new music. So, but in the time being, we have some shows coming up, which I'm very excited about. On the 28th of December, coming up in a few weeks, right after Christmas, we're going to be doing a Quantum show at Hey Sailor again. I really love that place. We we've played there quite a bit. We've played a lot of gigs there. We've played lots of different kinds of configurations. We did one show, I think, early on where it was essentially just us, and we played for about 2 or 3 hours. And it was about a year ago. It was around Christmas time, and then since then we played quite a few other shows with a few different bands, and some other kinds of things, some other kinds of events. So it's an amazing venue, amazing. It's got an amazing sound system, a beautiful kind of setup. It's just a really great venue. And so the last handful of shows that we've had as Quantum, we've been doing shows with other bands, other artists. But this show coming up on the 28th, it's going to start at 6:30. It's at Hey Sailor, like I said. We're going to just do the whole night ourselves. We're going to do the 2 or 3 hour set just ourselves. And which I'm looking forward to. We haven't done in a very long time. Typically when we play shows, and the shows that we've played at Hey Sailor or whatnot, we split the bill with other bands or other solo artists, and so we typically only play about a 45-minute set. Well, we have a lot of material, and we used to play gigs or all the time where we would play, for up to 3 hours, and so, and I like those sets a lot. I love the shorter sets because you kind of have to go in a little bit, I guess, harder. But I like the longer sets because you can kind of build. If it's a good night, and it's always, you kind of have to always kind of check out the vibe. But if it's a good night, you can kind of build it a little bit more, and because we have a lot of music that is maybe not so heavy dance oriented. We have a lot of music that has a little bit of, well, a jazz element and a lot of stuff that's kind of loungy. So, and a lot of ambient music. And a lot of that material we haven't really been able to play out in a while. So I love the opportunity to try to, have that as a part of the set, especially in the first, the first half or what have you. But I love the idea of trying to build it. And of course, we'll definitely have the more, the heavier dance tracks and set coming up, throughout that night too. But I love that kind of cultivating of trying to build the sets, build the, trying to establish. It's always an interesting thing, like trying to establish that mood, on a blank canvas, and then, starting at zero and then trying to like build it. And again, like I said in the past, we used to do lots of shows where, one of the best gigs we ever had. We had two gigs at these two venues that are no longer around, unfortunately. But we had a really long-standing gig at Fog in Rockland, Maine, Fog Bar and Grill, and that was probably, I think, for this band was probably the best experience for us because we really, I feel we played there all the time and we really developed as a band. We really had to adjust to what was going on because we always had that situation of like the first half of the night people were kind of dining, so we had to kind of, and then the second half of the night or the third half of the night was the bar crowd, the people who were just coming out for drinks and wanting to hear music. So we really had to like focus on volume and, what the intensity was, what the vibe was, and try to really cultivate and build the music. And that's where I feel like that's where the band really developed because we really experimented a lot and we really, had this open canvas to really try some new things. And sometimes it wasn't, very successful. Like anything, you got to throw yourself out there. And sometimes it really was, but it really helped kind of the musicality of the band. And really, I felt like, I like bands and I've always been attracted to bands and music that has some kind of multi-dimensional thing to it, like a multi-dimensional quality, where it's not maybe a one-trick pony. Like sometimes you have bands and music that's out there that is a one-trick pony where they can do something a certain kind of approach. They do that really really well. And at a very specific kind of venue or gig or concert, and the setting is very specific and they can do that really really well, and that's awesome. That's a great strength. But I've always loved artists and really looked up to artists to where you can see them in different venues, in different settings, quieter spaces, bigger spaces, really small intimate coffee house kinds of things, and and so forth. But you get, when you see that artist, you're like, wow, okay, they can really adjust to what's going on. And they are also, artists that I've loved that have that kind of chameleon like approach to how they perform. I always feel like artists like that have a certain kind of depth to their music that is where it gives them a little bit of an advantage over the groups that can only play in a particular space. And and I feel like, good songs good songs with essentially good, hopefully good melody or good melodies. It doesn't. It should probably sound good whether it's a full band or just somebody on an acoustic guitar. So that's something I've always strived for with this band, and I feel like we're not. I don't know. It's again, it's just a matter of opinion too. But for me, I feel like I kind of like that we're not just a band or a group that can just play at raves or techno dance clubs. I like that we can. I feel like we can do that, but then we can play real intimate spaces and provide a different feel. So that's, that's one thing that I feel like we were able to really develop. And these longer sets, the show coming up on December 28th is a little bit more of an example of where we can, if we're in the groove and everything is going pretty well, we can kind of build and expand the sound as we go. So come on out. That's going to be a good show. It's just going to be us. It's the showtime is going to be on the 28th. It's still going to be. We're going to still try to make it into a dance party. So, but we'll have a lot more space and time to to play some other tracks, especially maybe in the beginning. But we'll see how things go. So if you're around, please come on by. And and then we have another series of shows coming up this summer. We started playing at my one of my favorite places around Opera House Video, located in Belfast. We played Quantum played two shows there this past summer, and it was actually a lot of fun. And again, it's like playing there is it's kind of on paper it's kind of a weird thing. Like you're like, well, why would you play in a little video store? Well, for me, it's like, I mean, it's I'm inspired by movies beyond more than anything, so it's that. And it's when we did the two shows, we we pretty much just played real kind of more mellow ambient stuff. And I'm a huge fan of ambient music and minimalist stuff. So that in those settings, those two shows, like they were pretty laid back and pretty mellow. So we just kind of stuck with that, tried to stick with that vibe. And we played some more dance oriented kinds of things, but we did a lot of improvised stuff, and we also played a chance. It was a chance for us to play the real mellow kind of loungy stuff that we have. So we're going to be doing a couple of shows at Opera House Video in January. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to see what that will be like and what we can do with, building the sets, like I said, which is, you know, probably the most fun. Another venue that we used to play at, that we were pretty fortunate to play at, was Threshers in Searsmont, Maine, which again is another place that has closed, unfortunately. Hopefully, we didn't have anything to do with both of these places closing, but that was also a really great gig because that was a venue where I thought we could never really play at because it's more of a there was a real big it was a real big draw for a while, that place, and lots of great bands played there, but it was more geared towards rock and definitely more of the kind of the jam band thing. So I thought our music would never really kind of fly over there with the audience there and how the scene is. But somehow we ended up getting a gig there and it went over really, really well. And then we ended up getting a ton of gigs there, and we ended up playing there almost every Sunday for about 4 months. And it was great because, again, it was that same thing of where we had a long chunk of time to fill. We had 3 hours. So, and it was a daytime gig, and it was during the summer into the fall and even into the winter, where the one year that we played there, we had 3 hours, and I felt like it was one of those examples we could really experiment and really kind of stretch out. So it was, it was a really great experience for us as far as a learning, a learning curve. I feel like we're always developing and trying to, test new things, new ideas, even if they fail, and that's happened too. We've played plenty of gigs where I feel like it hasn't happened or it hasn't connected. But I don't know. I kind of feel like that's part of the magic of it is trying to like, keep your intention focused on the prize of like trying to create music that's got some depth to it. And I feel like that's kind of the only way you can really do it. So it's a fabulous thing. So January 16th, we will be playing at Opera House Video again, and it's going to be a different show because the shows that we've done on or in the past, we did two shows there over the summer. They were daytime shows, and they were like, we'd start early in the day, like 12:30. We play for a couple hours on a Saturday. But this show on the 16th of January, which was next year, 2025 already, that's going to be on a Thursday night, and it's going to be like around 7 o'clock ish, 7:30. So it's going to be a different thing. The store will be closed, so it will be just for the music. And for that reason, I think what we're going to do is, again, it's a very small space, but there's I think there's space enough for to set up and those kinds of things. So I think what we're going to do with that show, I'm still putting together the details of that. We're going to bring on another act to play, like another solo act. So I'm working on putting that together, and that's going to be a double build kind of show, and that's going to be on January 16th with like a 7:30 start time. So there'll be after this show coming up with Hey Sailor, there'll be lots of promotion for that, and then we're going to also do another show probably in January at Opera House Video, probably during the day. So yeah, some things that are happening here at the Quantum camps. I'm pretty excited, and there's I just started the promotion for the Hey Sailor show. So yeah, please come out. It's always great in these incredibly strange times that we're living in to support art and music. It's really the most important thing that we have as a culture. So let's keep it going. Thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.